Got it.
Good evening, everyone. It's Tom Sydney Bushnell, aka Numbers, here from Psych Club, from the Tom Numbers Show, News with Tom Numbers, and Top of Your Game. And I've got a good friend who's become a good friend now, and someone that is also at the top of their game, and that's my good friend. And well, I'll introduce him, and you'll see how amazing he is. I was going to say fellow genius, but that maybe is doing it. Maybe not enough of a service. Anyway, Krishan, RAMYEAD. I just know him as Dr. Krishan or Krishan. So Krishan is he's my go-to guy. I've been doing a lot of deep spiritual, physical, chiropractic work with this man, and this has been a work in progress. So Krishan, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you. It's always lovely to see you in practice, and it's nice to have this time where we can just do a deep dive and chat about a few things. So thank you for having me on, Tom.
Oh, you're welcome. It's great to have you on, and I know my audience will love you because we've got a lot of great guys on the show, but a lot of great women, and they always tune in because I'm so handsome. But I've got another guy that's so handsome here. So, and you know, when someone really walks their talk. So if you ever get to meet Krishan in person, he's like the kind of perfect physical specimen. So it's like he's all in balance, and it's like, well, he's my spiritual chiropractor. So it's like this guy walks his talk, you know. So everything about him is lined up perfectly. It's like if you see the guy on the, you know, in kind of encyclopedia of the human body, this is the man. So the guys will love you, but the women are going to love you. So I've made you blush now.
Yeah. I'm gonna work from there. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got some really good things prepared and some goodies to share with everybody. But just tell us a little bit about yourself, Krishan, just for a couple of minutes, and then tell us about the SRI, which we're going to go into, which is really beneficial. And I've experienced this with Krishan, and it's a game changer. So over to you, buddy.
So long story short, because that's the kind of question where, you know, I could talk for hours, but essentially for the last, this is my 20th year in the chiropractic world. So I'm trained as a chiropractor. My real interest for the last my clinical focus for the last 17 years has been about
17 is a good number.
Is it? Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. It's been about upgrading the nervous system. So the same way we take a mobile phone, we plug it in, it gets a software update, and all of a sudden it can do things it couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Human nervous system's the same. So even though I'm a chiropractor, I've never twisted or cracked any bones, which is a bit odd, you know, in my profession. But I've done that because I've always been taught how to take a gentle contact on the spine where the spine's actually working well. So we're putting attention on what works, and it causes this process in the brain to go, hang on a minute, what's going on? I've stored all this stress and tension in my body that was appropriate before. It's not appropriate now. Well, then I can process that, and I can kind of regroup, re-access that energy and information, and I can use that for my healing capacity, for my performance, for my concentration, my physical ability, my emotional well-being, you know, concentration, my sense of life enjoyment, my heart expansion, whatever it might be. But so that's been my clinical focus for almost 20 years now. And in that time, I've seen, you know, almost 100,000 patient visits, or no, sorry, more than 100,000 patient visits. And my point in mentioning that is I've really been a master of one skill, which is how do we get this nervous system upgraded? How do we clear stress out of the system? How do we upgrade our ability to get more energy and information? Because, you know, I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm noticing a lot of change in the world, and I'm sure you and your listeners are. And my thing is, well, that means we've got to adapt. I mean, if anything, we've got like a mutation of our species coming on, which means we've got to be heart-led, not head-led. And we sometimes have to be able to have our head and our heart all working together in a way that lets us treat ourselves differently, treat the world differently, treat each other differently, etc. Right? So my clinical focus has been upgrading the nervous system. And I've also, along that way, been privileged to be working with people real time, which means I've just been able to observe what does and doesn't work in people's lives. Like, because they tell me what they're doing, and I can see what works, what doesn't, be they a man or a woman, or, you know, or a child. And so I've basically been collecting and learning all of that information for the, as I said, been past almost 20 years. And now I'm at a point where it's possible to get this out to more people, so that more people can benefit from all of this knowledge. It's possible to tap into our embodied wisdom and our embodied resources and be able to access our own nervous system. So we'll be sharing some of that at the end of this video, so people can kind of leave with, how do I get my own healing into my own hands and actually start not just getting our nervous system to heal, but improve in performance and capability. And then also I've been interested, well, what is it people need to learn? What are the kind of, especially men, what are the things we were never taught, perhaps by our own fathers or society, that we really need to know to help boys go through their rites of passage to become men, so we can show up really powerfully, for ourselves, in our relationships, in our leadership and our work and our health with our families, etc. That's kind of in a nutshell, that gives you some of my interest. I could go on, but
I've been, so I came and saw you about a year and a half ago, a one-time visit.
Yes.
That I was introduced by Kate, actually.
Yes.
So and I came and saw you, and then people that know my show, I was in the States for a few months, traveling around and meeting friends and family and doing things. And anyway, so I came back, and now that I've settled down here more on the South Coast side of things, it was, I always wanted to come back to you, and I was like, right, now I'm in a position to do it. And so I started seeing Krishan regularly in person. Hence, I know the perfect skeletal specimen that he is. And
I'll talk about that in a second.
What's that?
I said I'll talk about that in a second, because it's relevant.
So I've been able to see you once or twice a week for the last probably 4 or 5 months now.
Yeah.
And the things that you just mentioned in that introduction, they work. It's like, I feel, and I've been mentioning, I've mentioned you briefly a couple of times to my audience, but not like in any real detail. So some of them might have missed it, but I said, I've got this guy that I see. And anyway, so here he is. But the upgrading of the system, and that made so much sense. So when you told me about that, I was like, yeah, because we've got traumas and we hold them in the body.
Yes.
But if you're able to upgrade the nervous system and let go of those things, then, and when I do my work with you, or when you do work with, when we do that, we enter into that space of upgrading. I can feel the body changing, and oh, that's nice, and I can feel it. Hence, I keep coming back to you, because I see incrementally, bit by bit, and sometimes there's a leap, and then we keep going, and then there's another leap. I can feel the benefits of it. Hence, I come and see you. I only saw you yesterday, so. It was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah, I saw you.
Feels like a week, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I check in with Krishan regularly, because it's so beneficial. And the beauty of this is we can do it also remotely for people, because my audience are all around the world. You touched upon the thing with men in terms of leadership. So I know that you have a course with that. The link will be below for people. But women will be like, what about me, Tom? Krishan, what about me? Because I do have a really large, beautiful audience of women as well. And so Krishan works with both, women and men, and the feminine, the masculine. And this method that you use, SRI, do you want to tell us more about that and what SRI stands for? And we'll kind of go into that. And
perfect. So something you said that's really important that I want to mention, and maybe we'll touch on later when we actually do the exercise, is if I had to impart one thing to people that would accelerate their healing, their emotional healing, overcoming trauma, their spiritual growth, their mental performance, if there was one thing, it is go towards the thing, whatever the thing is, right? And it might be the irritation in the physical body, it might be the emotion or the trigger that they don't like, or the person that they don't like, or the story they're holding about what's happened, or their map of the world, or the way they think things should be, or their spiritual idea, or whatever that thing is that's being held. If you can go towards it, so many people. So the reason what I do works is because I'm very privileged that I've had great teachers in my life. And this is one thing they've taught me, is the energy that people are craving is inside that thing they don't want to go near.
Yeah.
So if you can just get yourself to go towards whatever that thing is. All of the energy you need for healing, for change, for growth, for expansion, whatever it is available. And it's available pretty much instantly. And
Yes.
the reason that's the case is because we bind energy inside experiences. And I'll come to that in a second, but I can't say that enough. Like if you can go towards the thing. So a classic example, if someone is financially overwhelmed, the first thing they need to do is to look at their bank accounts, like how much is coming in, how much is going out,
Yeah.
because then they know what the situation is and they know how to resolve it. If someone's having
Yeah.
a relationship issue, well, what's going on? Oh, you're having an affair, or this is going on, or you're checking out, or, this person's distracting themselves, or you're not spending enough time together, whatever it is, or you're always arguing rather than connecting.
Yeah.
Once you know what it is, the thing is, then all of a sudden you've got some power back because you've got the energy available. Same with your health. Like, what's going on? Just be honest about how your health is. Do we like how we look or not? Do we feel energetic or not? Just once we've named it, it's like, okay, we can breathe, and now it doesn't have any power over us, and we can move on. So we've wanted to really empower people to put health in their own hands, quite literally. And so in our culture right now, there's a lot of emphasis on breath work, mindfulness, meditation, trauma release, emotional healing, improving mental focus and concentration, spiritual expansion, embodiment, and inner child work. And all of these things, everything I've just mentioned and more, is available within us right now.
Mm.
And so we've developed a series of tools, and I say a chiropractor, Arnold Epstein, developed it. This, over the last 30 or 40 years of just working with millions of people, and we've noticed that people, when they're going through different states of consciousness, when they're going through different states of healing, when they're thinking and feeling in different ways, be that for themselves, for their relationships, for their performance, for their achievement, for their spiritual expansion, for their integration, whatever it might be, they're accessing different energy and information at different times. And there's another thing I couldn't say enough is this is also about helping people learn what energy do I need at what point.
Mm.
Because we've all had the experiences, and forgive me for offending people, but people who meditate, and I meditate. You can see there's a statue in the background. It's been
Yeah.
part of my life for more than 20 years. But we meditate, think we're getting more enlightened, and then we're actually arseholes, right? Or we treat people badly, or we still get emotionally triggered, or we know that people who are involved in trauma work, but they're actually seem more traumatized and they don't seem to heal, or people who have an emotional upset and then become achievers, like, right, I'm going to go and do, go and create something, which is brilliant. But those people, the achievers, are missing the emotional healing. The spiritual expansive people might be missing their humanity somehow. The people who are trying to help themselves heal from trauma aren't able to move on. And it's not because they're bad people, or it's because, is it the right energy, the right tool, the right bit of consciousness at the right time? So I'd say go towards the thing, and go towards the thing with the right. Oh, I don't know where that thumb came from. I think my kids have been playing with my computer. And go towards the thing with the
Go
right
towards
energy.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
yeah. If I do
Donald
anything,
Trump thumbs up. Yeah. Yeah.
and go towards the right thing, or sorry, whatever the thing is, with the right energy, the right information, the right consciousness at the right time. And if
Yeah.
you can marry those two things up, my clinical experience has shown me that miracles are possible. People heal,
Yes.
people transform, people grow, people flourish. And this is our birthright. And it doesn't have to take hours, it takes seconds to minutes, really.
Yeah.
And what we've also been studying are, so to come back to your question, somato-respiratory integration. So body and breath integrating. So that means when we're doing breath work or healing, we're touching ourselves, we're focusing our attention. And as we know, the third thing I tell everyone, so I know I said I'd only tell them one thing, but the third thing is the most precious commodity we have is our attention. Because what we put our attention on, we commit to, we have a relationship with, we contribute to, and we create more of.
Yes.
If we can free up our attention and put our attention onto what we'd like rather than on just what we're distracted to, that changes people's lives. It
Yeah.
literally changes what they attract, what they filter, etc. Okay, so we want to harness all of these elements. So we're hands on the body. We're focusing our breath, energy, and movement under our hands. And when you do that, so much more of your brain has to pay attention to what's going on. Your energy, your focus, your beingness has to focus. And so, often, otherwise, what can happen, not always, but what can happen is people do breath work and their breath is here, but their body and attention's here. So they get a dissociation. And my big shtick has always been and is to get association and embodiment, because then you have a real sense of ownership of your experience, and it's not a concept, it's real in your embodied experience, and that's what makes it profound. So we basically have a series of 12 exercises, because they're essentially 12 states of human consciousness available to all of us, all the way from individualized isolated suffering through empowerment, through readiness, through spiritual expansion, to remembering that we're all one, right? And that is literally the journey of 12 stages of healing. It doesn't matter what discipline you do, there are 12 stages of healing, which is wonderful because it's so universal. It's so, applicable to all. It's been very well published in research, so it's quite accepted. And we have exercises for each stage of healing. So at the end of the video, we'll show you the exercise for the first stage, and maybe we'll do a little follow-up for people afterwards if they're interested. So that was a long answer, but that's basically what SRI is.
Brilliant. You're talking about energy. So energy in numbers, a lot of my audience will know, but others might not remember. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, because of the order of the alphabet. Okay. So the word energy equals 74. Okay. And the number codex that I use is called gematria, which also equals 74. So gematria and energy are interconnected. The language you and me are talking in, and most of our audience will be listening in, is English. English is also 74. And then for people in different faiths, people can be of non-faith. But for example, Jesus is 74. Muhammad is 74. Messiah for the Jews is 74. Even things like esoteric tarot 74. There's all these kind of 74s around the board, which are quite interesting. But I wanted to bring it back to energy and energy and focus. And you mentioned Donald Epstein, and some people will be like, well, Epstein, that's the, there's that going on in the news, but there's lots of good Epsteins. But the interesting thing about it, Donald Epstein comes to the same numbers as Donald Trump, and people in my audience will know that I'm a fan and proponent of him. But it's interesting because these important numbers pop up a lot. And when I saw that with even the address, so 50 studio, that actually comes to 138, comes to Donald Epstein, also comes to Donald Trump. Anyway, some nice little things. So when I see these things, I'm like, it's on the tin, the numbers say yes. And so there's all these ways we can check in and energetically, and now kind of go-tos can confirm the truth of what we're talking about. So
that was super important. So now that you've had that kind of big garbled explanation of what SRI is, ultimately, we want to be able to connect with ourselves. We want to be able to check in. We want to be able to check in with our body, and we want a way to process the stress and the noise that is there, because it's there. Our brain is 2 million years old, give or take, depending on which scientist you listen to. We're designed to fight or flight, but we can't fight COVID. We can't run from our mother-in-law, or, we can't. Our brain is telling us to do things, right, that we can't do anymore. Right? And on and on and on it goes, right? So we need to be able to check in, clear the noise, like process the stress, collect the data and information, so that we can listen to our inner voice. And what that allows us to do, it's really important, is to know what's mine and what's yours. And I don't mean that I don't mean to create division. I just mean to create discernment. Like, just so we can listen. Okay, what's my inner voice telling me? Okay, what's my boundary? Okay, what is, can I check in with myself so I become my own authority? I become sovereign, not I'm having to put the power outside myself to someone else. And that is, I suppose, the hallmark. I suppose if you had to say what would be the pinnacle of what I want it to achieve for people, is, can we be able to discern and listen to our inner voice, and have we have the courage and the, oh, I've got the thumb up again. He likes that.
There you go.
Have I got the courage to act on it, right? So that's really what it's about. And you talked about energy, because what we've discovered is there are approximately 5 major types of energy within and around the human nervous system. So there's
5, yeah.
yeah, there are 5. As I said, give or take, depending on which esoteric system you look at. But I like this because you can cover the most simply. And
Yeah.
as you get to know me, I'm very practically efficient. So if a tool works, I'll keep it. And if it doesn't work, I throw it out because it's not
Yeah.
useful. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of hard like that. But so the first type of energy is life force. And if you think it corresponds with how we develop as human beings. So if you think about a newborn child, it goes
Mhm.
eat, poo, sleep. Eat, poo, sleep. It wants nurture, closeness, affection. It's developing safety. It's developing its organs. It's developing the physical body. So we have one for life force, which really programs our sense of safety and security. So if we don't have enough life force, or if it's challenged for some reason, or if our life force has been conditioned, that we've been taught repeatedly life isn't safe,
Yeah.
then we're going to have trouble moving, on sleeping, or we're going to obsess about how we eat, move, and sleep. We're going to be in a survival mode. Okay. And then we go to, if you think about how a child develops, it starts saying no, right? It starts
Yeah.
giggling, laughing, because its emotional system is coming online. Its emotional, energetic body is opening up. And these things exist in distances. So life force is very close. So someone in a survival mode will hug themselves, right? In a fearful survival state. Energetically and emotionally, we're here, which is where people might, engage more defensively. Okay. And that controls our immune system, our white blood cells, but it also gives us our emotional range, ability
Yeah.
to react, ability to have more emotions available, because I'm sure you've observed most people have like 1 to 6 emotions they kind of habitually use, even though there are thousands or almost
Yeah.
infinite number of emotions available, right? And then we have one, and then a child often knows, says, why this, why that, why? So we have a mental field. It's about this far away from the body. And then teenagers, we start questioning, well, hang on, you said this, but did this, that doesn't correlate, right? Now
Mm.
they're looking for incongruities. And so that develops what we call the upper mind. And then we go beyond the mind into our soul, which is, this is who I am. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm about. And ideally, as we go hit about 30, so we have our Saturn return, we should have done our cycle through all of those. But sadly, most of us get locked into 1 or 2, and we never really grow up. So the
I
other
remember
option.
one thing you said to me a few weeks ago. It just came up, and you commented and you said, "Yeah, most adults are children walking around in adult-sized bodies."
Yeah,
And I was like,
because
that really. I was like, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just look at Christmas time, how stressed people get about just being with people they don't like. And,
Yeah.
I'm human, right? So I experience it too, but it's because our emotional body and triggers haven't healed. So we're still very triggerable, or we haven't got
Yeah.
a much emotional range, or the person's stuck in their mind trying to achieve because they don't feel enough, or they
Yeah.
haven't, or they're achieving without any sense of why, because they haven't integrated their soul or their heart into what they're doing,
Yeah.
and on it goes. So and then there's, as human beings, there's such a depth of richness available if we can integrate these things, because sometimes it might absolutely be appropriate to be in a survival state if your life is threatened, or it might be
Mm.
appropriate to be emotionally reactive or mentally, like all of these fields are appropriate, as long as we can consciously choose which one when.
Yeah.
Sometimes surrender to what is trying to be shown. That's the other trick, right? To kind of get that balance, and then have them be able to integrate and work together.
Yeah. And don't get stuck.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
brilliant,
absolutely.
buddy. Let's experience, because I know you've got something prepared in terms of an
Yeah.
actual kind of gift to the audience that they
Yes,
can
absolutely.
feel. Um,
Yeah.
let's go into that, the SRI, and I think you're gonna. So people can either stand, sit, or lay
Yeah.
down when they
So
listen or watch this. Yeah.
yeah. So the best thing to do is to sit or lie down. If you're lying down, unless you've got severe neck pain or headaches, try not to have anything underneath your neck, so it's nice and flat. So we're going to be using 3 positions. So what we're going to do is, the simple principle is, we want to find a place that's working. meaning a place that's resourceful, that feels safe, that feels connected. We're going to start with that place. We're going to do more with that place, and we're going to end with that place. And that's very important, because that means we are wiring our nervous system into this repeated experience of something works. And we really want to focus on what works. And then what we'll do is we'll go and visit some place that maybe doesn't work so well. And we'll see if your nervous system, if we can just invite the opportunity for your body to go, you know what? I can connect there a bit more now. I can make that feel a bit safer too. And that can open up a little bit. And it's really important to say, for some people, we're going to be getting a lot of safety in our nervous system. So when our body feels safe, it goes, ah. For some of us, we might just breathe more, and it might just open up and just feel a bit more comfortable. For some of us, we might feel something that was a bit uncomfortable, that was overwhelming in the past, that we now feel safe enough to experience. And that's a wonderful thing, because even though it's uncomfortable, that's the whole point I was mentioning before. We're going towards the thing. So the thing doesn't control us anymore. We can feel safe to feel it again, to have the experience. And the other thing just to mention is that some people might not notice much at all. And that's absolutely fine. You know, I was very much in my head for the first 20 something years of my life. So I would just fall asleep when this was done before. I would just fall asleep because my nervous system was so overwhelmed. It was like, you know what? Sleep would be like, sleep is the safest option right now. Just go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, now it's a bit like playing the piano. You know, you start by learning the key, and then before you know it, you're playing a whole symphony. But we start with the scales. So this one's going to be focusing on life force, so that's safety. We always start with safety because it's the foundation of everything. You know, every relationship we have, be it, you know, man and woman, or, you know, a business relationship, or, you know, a family relationship or a sibling relationship, every relationship we have, be it intimate or friendship, whatever, is based on safety first. So when we're relating to our own physical body, we want safety. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to see what's working, what's not, and we'll work from there. Okay, so a couple little pointers. We're going to be using our hand on our body. I'll show you where. One hand flat on top of the other, so not twisted. You know, no thumbs up. Just one hand gently flat on top of the other, and that's because our hands are like lenses. They're like receiving information. They're receiving energy and information, and they're going to be receiving energy from our soma, from our body as we work. So we just want to make that as clean and easy as possible. We're going to use 3 places. I'll stand up to show you. So we're going to be using.
Here comes the aligned skeleton.
We'll talk about some about that at the end. I think I'll go on to that. So one position will be the upper chest.
Yeah.
One will be, if you come down through your ribs, you'll then find the squidgy bit at the end of the
solar plexus.
Cage. Yeah, that's your xipho process, which is just, you know, your solar plexus.
Yeah.
And then the third is your belly, you know, where the fluff lives. So your navel, solar plexus, upper chest. These are our 3 positions.
Okay.
What we're gonna be doing is we're going to be breathing in the nose, out the mouth, and then so that I'll slow it down so people have a chance to actually do this with us at home. Maybe we can send a little video so people don't have to worry about remembering it. Yeah, and we'll go from there. So let's start with our navel, just because it's nicer on the shoulders. So you're going to be hands here. I'm obviously going to be sat down, just narrating this. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in the nose and out the mouth. And as we do that, we're going to focus the breath underneath our hands. So hand on the body like you're touching someone you love, or you're touching an area of your body that's bruised. So you're touching yourself tenderly and gently. And we want to breathe. So if you feel comfortable, close your eyes, because that just allows us to block out all the outer cues and just to tune into our inner cues a bit more. So we're going to breathe in the nose and out the mouth. And we're just going to notice what it's like to get the breath underneath our hands. So in the nose, out the mouth. And you might just feel a gentle expansion underneath your hands. And you might notice that you feel more relaxed in doing it. You might notice that you feel a bit agitated or your mind starts to race. That's absolutely fine. Just at this point, we're just paying attention to what's happening. Okay, brilliant. Now bring our hands to position number 2. That's the solar plexus. Perfect. So Tom, a little bit higher, tuck those thumbs in. And one hand flat on top of the other, so bring them slightly closer together. That's it, and just drop the shoulders. Wonderful. In the nose, out the mouth. And if people like it, they can feel like their forearms are hugging their ribs a bit, so you can kind of give yourself a little hug at the same time if you'd like to. And again, we're just noticing, what's it like to get the breath here? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Am I concentrated? Am I getting distracted? Perfect. You know, is it easier than the other place? Is it harder? All of these things. We're just taking a little assessment. And then when you're ready, Tom, come up to the upper chest. And then just let the shoulders relax, let the elbows drop, because there can be a tendency for people to hike. And we just want to just gently place our hands up. Good. And just bring your fingers together a little bit more and slide one hand over the other. Perfect. There we go. So that information nice and focused. You could bring your hand up about another inch. Awesome. In the nose, out the mouth. And we're just seeing what it's like to get the breath in there. Perfect. And we're breathing like we're having a cup of coffee with a friend. So it's not labored. It's not, it's just breathing in, breathing out. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so I now want you to put your hands on whichever one of those 3 was the most comfortable or that felt like the most connected, the one where you could concentrate the most easily. So you've chosen the middle, yeah? Okay, perfect. So now we're going to breathe in the nose, out the mouth, and we're just going to luxuriate. You understand why? Just know, for some reason, this part of my body works really well right now. And we're just going to enjoy that. We're just going to enjoy that something works. Have you changed? You've gone down to the lower position? And that was brilliant. That's totally fine. Some of us it might take a couple of goes to find that. That's absolutely fine. It's really important we go at our rhythm and our pace. So in the nose, out the mouth, and just enjoying that this works. Just enjoying that there's no effort required. And that's a huge part of our well-being, is knowing that we've got the right type of energy. Is energy, when it's the right type at the right time, really is it really is effortless, or effortless effort. Okay, so now we're going to put our hand on whichever one of the other 2 places was the most challenging to work with. So where do we feel? Yeah, so we're going. Sometimes we call this place our place of this connection. So breath in there for me, Tom. We're not going to spend too long here. We're just going to kind of notice this. Okay, perfect. And then drop back onto your navel for me. So just a couple of breaths. And Tom, you keep doing what you're doing, and people watching might even notice that as Tom is doing this, when he puts his hand on his belly, his whole physiology relaxes, his face relaxes. He looks more peaceful. And put your hands on your upper chest again, Tom. And when he goes there, it just looks a bit contorted. It doesn't quite look as relaxed. In fact, it's getting easier this time. And that's what will happen as we work back and forth with what works and what doesn't. It does transfer a little. Good. Come back to the place that works really well. So once we've done this a couple of times, we're going to take it up a notch now. So in the nose, out the mouth. So Tom, just here, you shouldn't have to do anything. All healing happens when we become aware of what's going on. We acknowledge it. And then ultimately we can accept it as it is. Not resign ourselves to it, but just accept what is. So we're going to now go from awareness to acknowledgement. So Tom's become aware, he's found it. Now we're going to verbally acknowledge. And when we verbally acknowledge, it's really important because we give witness to ourselves and our experience, and it accelerates healing. Come up to the upper chest. So breath in. And let's start with something really easy acknowledgement. And it will just be, can you feel how that's just a nod? Can you feel how that's already easier, having worked back and, yeah, I can see it's easy. Wonderful. You've got more range. So on the out breath, just say, sometimes I feel disconnected here. Just so you can hear yourself. Sometimes I feel disconnected.
Feel disconnected here.
Perfect. Now just the breath, no more words needed. Yeah, that's it. And people watching can see his shoulders just dropped, his head dropped a bit. Wonderful. Now bring your hands back onto your navel. Always spend longer on the place that works and less time on the place that's disconnected. In the nose. Yeah, and you can see the breath is instantly more full. Actually going up his body more. His shoulders are dropping more. You can see he's expanding more. He's got more energy available. Wonderful. Really let those hands sink in like a pebble into a pond to get full expansion, full surrender. We get full, what we like to call penetration, full reception, both aspects of our being. Awesome. Let your hands go by your side when you're ready. Keep your eyes closed for a second, and you might feel that you need to move or stretch to see what comes through your system. And whilst he's doing that, we'll hear from him and his experience in just a second. But we always say, sometimes I feel, because when we suffer, it's always or never. And our experience becomes all pervasive and we can't find a way out. So when we acknowledge it with a truthful statement like, sometimes I feel this, we acknowledge what's there, but we don't make it less than it is and we don't make it more. And that's part of how we liberate ourselves. We set ourselves free. When you're ready, Tom Numbers. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Do you want to say something that you experienced or that you noticed change?
Yeah, just getting in connection with the three areas, the three spaces, and noticing, like you highlighted, when you spend more time in the area that is easier, more comforting. To go into the more difficult areas is easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually went from here, and then I could probably do work in there because that was the second one. So it's like you're gathering energy from here, taking it here, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, and also just kind of a feeling of calm, and also probably when I did this first with you, but it's come to mind now. The statement, sometimes it allows it to be not all and ever, because that's what the body kind of does. I've had that, you just like, oh, it's always injured or it's always in that state. It's like, sometimes it's that, but also sometimes it's not.
Yeah, you got it. That is so powerful. And also, thank you so much for sharing. And also, this was when we do workshops with people and your audience, we can make this so much more advanced and so much more specific, because it might be, sometimes I feel anxious, sometimes I feel heavy, and we have to help people really build their trust in their own instinct. Because it might be, I feel depressed, or I feel angry, or I feel rage, or I feel jealous, or I feel happy. People disconnect from happiness, for example, or it might be a traumatic car crash and there's just shock, or some people might say, hey, I've got a pain here. Well, we can teach them how do I go and access that, and and there's all these different nuances. But just that simple thing, and people who are a bit more clued in will notice these are obviously three big branches of the vagus nerve. That is not a mistake, because as we get more stressed, we go more into our sympathetic, and as we get more we go more into our vagus. So we're deliberately tapping people into their vagus system, because that's what makes us feel connected and safe. So there are no real contraindication, meaning times when you shouldn't do that exercise, unless it's you're in incredible pain touching your own body, or your hands are hurt or something. So because it's really, you can do it whenever. You can do it before you sleep, you can do it when you wake up. I've one time when I was in a horrible traffic jam, I thought, right, I'm going to connect with myself. Like, you can use it anytime, anywhere. I've done it when I was having some work done on a tooth. I was anxious about the dentist and the drill, and So my place that worked that day was in my abs, so I just rested my hands on my body. Just going to keep my hands here. Off you go. You know, so many, you know, or kids who are feeling anxious about going to school or getting nightmares, who can't sleep, or people who want to feel calm or, you know, centered or energized before a meeting or an interview. There's so many uses for this. And it's really just giving people the tools in their own hands to access their own body and nervous system. And the wonderful thing is, even though I led you through it, you did all the work. You acknowledged yourself, you know, and that's the power. That's what really excites me, and excites about working with you and sharing with your audiences. People can have this power, and this is stage 1. There are 12 of these, you know, and it takes however long that took, 2 or 3 minutes, and that was when you're learning, and when you know how to do it, it takes maybe a minute and a half. You know, it's like 90 seconds to, you know. And right now, all of that hormonal blood chemistry change is going through your brain. Which means you're going to think differently, you'll have different ideas, you're going to respond differently because you're calmer and more flexible, you know, and on and on and on it goes. I could yabber on for ages, you get the idea. But
thank you, buddy. That was good to check in again, and
my pleasure.
People back home go through it or rewatch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then do it yourself again, and yeah, we're building steps, we're building a foundation, and we'll have you on again, probably similar time next week. So
I would love that. And also, if people in your audience have questions or concerns or things that like maybe things I've said they want to know more about, please let me know, and I'll make sure, you know, because I love that, because then I can focus, you know, that 20 odd years experience and really make it add value for people. But I suppose biggest thing is, this doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to be hard. And if you can go towards whatever that thing is with enough safety and the right kind of energy, healing and progress and growth and expansion is possible like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Brilliant, buddy. Thank you. Well, I'm enjoying just
My pleasure.
The bliss.
I can see it in your face. You're just
the
whole affect has changed. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So thanks, buddy. We'll put the links below for your course on the male empowerment. And then for every ladies and men, we're going to build upon this and deliver those more for you. So has
your mind gone more quiet?
It has.
I'm laughing with you on that. You could
just enjoying it. Yeah,
it's nice for you.
And everyone back home, I know you will, but put your comments in and how you're feeling on it, and we'll put email, and so you can get in touch. And
absolutely.
But this is the beginning, because we're going to do it each week, and we've got a lot of benefit for you. So yeah, and I'm just enjoying it. Yeah.
Wonderful. I'd love that.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you so much for having me on, Tom.
It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to see you. So thanks for coming on the show, and thanks everyone for participating back home. So yeah, thanks, buddy. God bless. I'll see you soon. Well, I'll see you in person soon, but I'll see you next week on the show again. So
all right. Thank you so much.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.